So thank you all so much for joining us this evening. It's our first attempt with the technology, so please bear with us. My name's Mr. Cabrera. I am Director of Development. I'm a member of the SLT. I'm responsible for examinations and assessment at the college, but I also work closely with Mr. Nelson, who's the head of year, but has a new title this year. It is Academic Progress Leader. It's a title we've given to our heads of year just to show how important they are in their role to actually ensure that your son makes the right progress during their time at St Joseph's. He still has the same role he had before, it's just a new title for him. So I work closely with him, and I have worked with this year group for a number of years, so I'm particularly grateful that he's joining me, and I'm very, very grateful to be working with him because he's so good at what he does. We wanted to put tonight's webinar on to give you a bit more of a insight into what we're dealing with at school and what's been going on previously this year in the unusual and very different circumstances that we seem to be living our lives. Last exams, we were taken by surprise, as many people were, by going into lockdown and the examinations being cancelled in March. The students did not sit exams for GCSE or their A-level qualifications, so they didn't have an opportunity to show what they know. And this has affected them in many ways. We had teachers being asked for what they called centre assessed grades, and we were given a big raft of conditions and guidelines on what we would do and how we were meant to come up with those centre assessed grades. They wanted to avoid everyone just going, yeah, everyone got the top grade, no problem. We've all got the top grades, and that's an issue, because they still wanted us to be honest. One of the things we did was we had to rank order our students. So it wasn't good enough to just give them a grade 5 or a grade 6 under the new grading criteria. We had to put them in order to see which was the strongest 6 and which was the weakest 6. And they were going to use an algorithm. They were going to use some computer format to decide what the students did. They did this for the A levels. And what happened was that there was a big public outcry, as you probably saw, because people were being basically downgraded across the board. We had that incident. We had a number of students for whom they did a coursework, a BTEC coursework vocational course, who we had the coursework for, who had completed it before lockdown. We were told they had got a fail for it, and a fail meant they got a U overall. So it was a very, very complicated system. They decided to change this back to just accepting what the teachers said. There's a bit of an issue with that. Some schools, some teachers maybe aren't as honest as others. But we conducted the process at St Joseph's fairly and exactly the way that we were told to. And that meant we included not just prior mock results, but also evidence from work and tests done over time. The grade given was what teachers felt at that time the student would definitely be gaining an exam. It was their opinion based on the evidence they had at that time. And we came across a few problems with that, because some teachers in some subjects trying to encourage their year 11 students had maybe in the mock exam given them a slightly higher grade because they wanted to give them some encouragement. And we had parents contacting us saying, well, they got this grade in their mocks. And we had to say, yes, but it doesn't just include their mock results. Equally, every subject and every school does different mocks. So there wasn't anything that was consistent that could be used across the board to judge where our students were. And that was the biggest issue as well. Our students are being judged with other schools. The students that got a 6, a 7, an 8, a 5 had to know that they were being given the same chances as people in other schools. If students had sat their exams or completed the courses they were on, they may well have got a higher or even a lower grade. We know that. Every year we know some students come good at the end. Some students are lucky on the day. Some students sit there and work really, really hard for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks before their exams and manage to do better than we thought they were going to do. They did not have that opportunity this year. I had to field complaints from parents and students who felt they should have got a higher grade than they got. But ultimately, I had to say to them, it doesn't matter what you think. Ultimately, you haven't sat an exam. You haven't been given the opportunity to prove it. There is no one that knows what you would have got in the exam. No one. In some cases, the grade they got affected their university offers, or also the offers they got to go and do A-level courses post-16, both here at St Joseph's, and some who went on to other colleges found their places were affected. So it was a very major event in the students' lives, and it was a pretty big deal. There also was no appeals process for students who felt unhappy with results. And basically, every time I was contacted by a parent who said, I want to appeal my son's grade or daughter's grade in the sixth form, I had to turn around and say, I'm really sorry, it can't be done. The government wouldn't listen to any appeals because they said the only way you can say that your child would have got a higher grade is if they had sat an exam. They had put on exams in November and October for A-level and GCSE students who want to take an exam, but that's now 7 to 8 months after they went into lockdown. I don't think that's going to be very popular. So basically, what I had to tell people in a far more polite way was it is what it is. The grade that they were predicted was what it was. So what about next year's exam? How does that affect the students in our current year 11? Well, the government's view, and this is official government jargon and language, is that they say that education will continue this year with schools remaining open and that examinations and assessments will go ahead in summer 2021. That is their statement. The exams will go ahead in summer 21. Even though we've had 7 months of not being in school and some students having a sporadic and not necessarily positive impact on using home learning, they're going to go ahead with having exams in 2021. Then they said, but in the event of any widespread sustained national disruption to exams or assessment, the government will communicate with regulators, auditing bodies, centres prior to a public announcement. So basically what they then cover themselves by saying, but it could change, which is basically what that means. So we still don't know. We are planning for examinations next summer, but we know that things could change, and there is public pressure being put on the government to make changes ahead of next year, especially in light of recently different areas going into lockdown. We don't know if our area where we are might go into a lockdown. It might be severe and our students might be prevented from taking their exams. We don't know, but we have to prepare as best we can. So to quote Eminem, the truth is, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Life is a crazy ride and nothing is guaranteed. Every year, I tend to show a motivational video to year 11 students, and it's one that I picked up in 2012. I'm going to show it to you. This is the 2012 Paralympic 200 meters race. I tell the students to focus on a British runner called Richard Whitehead. It's Richard Whitehead who's in last place now. There he is. You'll see him there right in the screen. He's in last place. The double blade runner in last place coming round the bend. I then show them this clip and I point out that he's last there, but watch. Now, the reason I show that video is to say, I normally show it around Christmas time when they've just done their mock exams before in their last year of year 11, before their real exams. And my speech is, look where he was at this point now. He was in last place, but that doesn't mean that's where you have to finish. Look where he finished. He surged ahead and won by meters, well clear of the whole field. It doesn't matter where you are now, it's where you finish that counts. And that was my video trying to motivate students to turn around and say, look, if you've done badly in your mocks, if you haven't revised as hard as you maybe should do, it doesn't matter. We can make things right. We have time to turn this around and make this a better experience for you. You can still win. That was the motto. Unfortunately, I've got to change it, because the experience of what we saw in the summer was that when the students went on lockdown in March, that's when we were asked to make our decision about what they were going to get in the summer exams. We were basically told to judge it on where they were now, not where they could be, where they were now. And that's the message that Mr. Nelson and I have been trying to say to the Year 11 since they returned to St. Joseph's. We've been saying to them, you need to be prepared that this is now not a rehearsal. If we are asked to do the same thing, we can't take into account that we really like you, to really like your son. Your son's a lovely young man. Yeah, he can be a bit lazy at times, but we know he's got the potential. He's just not showing it yet. We cannot judge what grade he's going to get based on that. We have to judge it on what they are doing now. So for the first time, I can honestly turn around and say in 25 years of teaching, I've got a real reason why mock exams are important. I have a real reason why I can turn around and say to them, if you don't revise for your mocks, it could affect your final grade, because this time round it can. It was Mr. Nelson that came up with, it's not a rehearsal. It's not a rehearsal. The American president said, yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose. Absolutely. We can't go back and change things for last year's Year 11. We can't go back and do anything for them, but we can make sure that your son and our students are as prepared for tomorrow and that we win. It hasn't been decided yet. So be prepared. We know that students have already missed a lot of the curriculum during lockdown. We know that. We know that some engaged more than others with the home learning. We know that it's likely to happen again, even for a short spell. We've already had our year group bubbles, a couple of them get sent home. Even for a short spell, there is possibly going to be a local lockdown where learning will be lost again. We know there's new vocabulary coming into students' lives. This idea of blended learning, which is students in Year 11 engaging from home and also working in all the online resources we have, as well as working in school. And you can help us. Year 11s must engage from home. There's a lot more online learning opportunities coming in through Show My Homework, GCSE Pod, Teams, and other subject-specific portals that are available. I'm now going to pass over to Mr. Nelson, who's going to talk for the next couple of slides. Hopefully this works. Are you there, sir?
I am, sir. Can you hear me?
I can.
Fantastic.
You have control.
Are you going to be able to? Will you flick through for me?
Flick through, yes, certainly. I'll turn to the next one.
Fantastic.
You should see it now. Is there mock exams?
Not yet.
Bit of a delay.
No, still haven't got it.
I hope people can see it. I have presented.
There we go. There we go.
There you go.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. And as the vast majority of you know, I'm Mr. Nelson. I've been with the boys since Year 8, and it is my great honour and pleasure to be their head of year or academic progress leader now. And I just want to kind of reiterate a lot of what Mr. Cabrera has said, particularly with regards to the reality of the situation that we currently find ourselves in, and the likelihood of there being more disruption. Ordinarily, Year 11 students have some time to adjust to being Year 11 students, to adjust to the expectations of them outside from yourselves as parents and from us as teachers, the difference, that different level of expectation that comes with being Year 11, and also the pressure and working with the pressure that comes with all of that. But our boys haven't had that chance. Our boys have basically left school as Year 10s and returned supposedly as full year 11s, but actually still with, in some ways, a year 10 mindset. And all of this against the backdrop of the current pandemic. So it is absolutely vital, the situation that they are in, that they find themselves in, and that they don't have time to wait until, oh, you know, boys often think, oh, I'll wait till March or April and then I'll really start to revise. They don't have that luxury. As unfair as it may be, that's the reality that they find themselves in. So it is absolutely vital that they treat every learning day like it could be their last, because in reality it could. And that brings me on to the mock exams. These are absolutely vital. Just this week, I've had a number of my boys come to me to ask for grades because they're applying to sixth form colleges. And I can't give them grades because we don't have anything. And that is why we're having these mock exams. The last data they had was from January. And so we need these mock exams to get us those grades so that we know exactly where they are. Now, as it says on the slide, the English, Maths and Science exams will be happening on Monday, the 19th of October. That's just 2 weeks from now. So in reality, they have got their GCSEs in 2 weeks' time. That's how they have to treat it, like it is their final exam. The other subjects will be happening, the non-core subjects will be happening on Monday the 9th, and that's just 5 weeks from today, including the 1 week half term. And in order to get a full picture of where they are, we will be covering all the content that would have been covered during lockdown, as well as the stuff that they'd done previously. Now, this is where the non-engagement by some of our students over the summer will have an impact on them, because they will not have covered that content because they didn't engage while they were at home. And I understand, having had to work from home myself, how difficult it is to maintain a routine, to motivate yourself to do the work. But the reality is that they have to cover that work. And so if we do go into another lockdown, now, as I say, this data is absolutely vital because it gives us a clear picture of where they are, and it enables us then to target our efforts in ensuring that we fill those gaps. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yep. I will just say, if for any reason we do go into lockdown, and there has been some talk about the possibility of a week's lockdown before the half term or after it, then we will just move these exams back a week, or we will compensate. They won't go earlier. They might be delayed by a week.
Absolutely.
I've moved it on. I hope it shows on your screen.
It's a bit of a delay. Yes. Okay. So we have put a number of things in place to try to catch up with the time that's lost and to give them the best opportunity that they can. And we have organised for them to attend registration periods in the ICT suite so they can access their online work, particularly GCSE Pod, and as Mr. Cabrera said, the subject-specific portals with other subject work on there. We've also provided them with knowledge organisers, which were created by the heads of department, and revision plans. In addition to that, the tutors, the specially chosen tutors for Year 11, have also provided them with core subject work booklets and revision guidance to help support them and try to make that time up. So essentially, we're catching up as much as 2 hours a week, which is 2 lessons per week, of the stuff that was missed and the time that was missed over the summer. And this will really make a difference over time. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind. So a nice quote that Mr. Cabrera found, and it's true, and we would say something similar to this every year because it is so important. But coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. And we can overcome the challenges that we've been faced with, and challenge is part of life. And I believe that overcoming challenge, we grow. And I try to get this message across to the boys as often as I get the opportunity, because challenge does make us better and more than we were before. But as a triangle, if you like, a triumvirate of student, parent, or home and teacher, we can give the support and ensure that we make the very, very best of the situation that we find ourselves in. And although there can be never any guarantees, because ultimately it boils down to the effort and the work that our students and your sons put in, we will give them the very, very best platform we possibly can to ensure that, regardless of the circumstances, they have the best opportunity to get the very, very best results and provide them the best platform to go on with the rest of their lives. So I think that's my bit done.
Thank you very much. You never once used the word triumvirate in rehearsal.
I'm a classicist, sir. What can I say?
Brought that in. So what you can do to help? Please support the home learning. I know there are lots of distractions. I know it's not easy. I know that they stay up late and they get up later. But if they are at home, please, please, please support us. If for any reason the students are sent home, they will do a normal timetable from home. We will make sure that teachers are delivering online lessons to them. And so it is up to them to make sure they attend their normal school day. And please let us know if there are any technology problems. We will try to help. We are in a position to lend laptops possibly to those that don't have them. We are in a position to even provide some internet dongles that we've got. Not many, but we have a few. Encourage your son. Support them. Nag them. You know your son best. You know what motivates them, but just get the message across to them that this is important. Please ask questions. Ask questions of them. Communicate with us, tutors, teachers. If you have subject-specific questions, it is sometimes best to contact the teachers direct. But if you want to contact us, if you don't get any answer from the teacher, if you need something and there's a bit of miscommunication or there's a slowness in the communication, then please contact Mr. Nelson or myself. We'll be more than happy to get back to you and try and sort something out. And I put on here, don't be surprised. I suppose that's my attempt to say, don't have higher ambition than they are demonstrating. They might well be capable of getting a 9, an 8, a 7. And you know what, for some people, the best they can do is a 4 or a 5 or a 3. And that's fine if they're doing their best. But don't expect them to get a higher grade if they're not demonstrating it at the moment. I did have a parent who wanted their son to get a higher grade, and I had to demonstrate that for every single assessment they did, in class and mock exam, they got a 5. And only once did they get a 6 in one test, and they wanted to get a 7. How could I justify that? So don't be surprised, please. Don't be surprised. Now, we have got a Q&A session going. At the moment, neither Mr. Nelson or myself know quite how to get hold of that whilst we're presenting. So I will go on to the end of the slideshow, and then I will come back and try and get hold of the questions and answers. So I want to thank you for joining us for now. Be prepared, not a rehearsal. Yesterday is not ours to recover, but tomorrow is ours to win or lose, is what I'm going to finish my PowerPoint on, because it is so vitally important. We will do everything in our power to help our students, your sons, to be the best that they can be. We will do everything we can in our power, but we need them to do it, because ultimately it is down to them. They are the ones who are going to achieve it. I'm just going to stop the presentation now, hopefully. Go back to my screen and see if there are any questions. Show Q&As. Oh. They will write. Yep, one question here. It's working. It's working, Mr. Nelson. Oh,
Fantastic.
sorry. Hopefully you can still hear us. So I will put that there, and I will go live. I'll send that live. Hello, everybody. Apologies for the person you're now seeing. Right. I wanted to ask if they will write their mock exam in their classrooms or the hall. These exams will be sat in the classrooms. We are going to change the rooms round. We're going to make sure they're with their class teachers, and they will be sat in the classrooms where they are. We will do mock exams later in the year in the exam hall, but at the moment we feel it's easier to keep them in their bubbles and maintain them where they are. Someone's asked, starting school late means my son gets home later and he has less time to revise. I do understand that. We felt that the later start for year 11s with a slightly later start, and 3:35 is late, but equally many schools finish about 3:30, so we had an unusually early finishing time for St Joseph's because we normally start so early. So starting a bit later, but that allows us more flexibility in the timetable to actually put on more provisions for them. We will be able to put on after school revision sessions and after school sessions. If we were doing that and they started earlier and finished at period 5, we wouldn't be able to do that because the lower school will be finishing period 6. So we actually prioritise the fact that when the students finish at 3:25, it does give us the option to put on some extra sessions if we need it, which we will do later in the day. So that's the reason of having the year 11s and the year 10s starting slightly later. I can see there's 68, 67, someone's just have to see his number go down, it'd be depressing. 68 people were watching, so thank you very much for that. If there is anybody else that would like to ask a question, I would ask that you do so now, and I will try. Hang on, I've got loads more coming through, I've just got to read them down. Okay, that's coming in. When will year 6 applications be open? They should be open now, I believe. It's done online. If you'd like to contact the main school office, they will know more about that. Oh, someone said someone can hear and see me. Thank you. That's very good. Sixth form applications will be the sixth form open evening is being done virtually. Dr. Woodburn, who runs the sixth form, has done a very snazzy sixth form, and that is the 13th of October at 5:30, I believe, but there will be something published. The sixth form open virtual evening will be published, so that's a week tomorrow. When are the mock results due? That's a good question. I'd like to do an assembly with them. I will say this, I am going to make sure that staff are quite strict in their marking. I want them to actually give a real predicted grade, what they thought the student should have. The exams are going to be vital for us to identify areas where we need to develop, and each one to get an individual feedback on what they need to improve. It allows us to do some question answer analysis, but the results will be going out hopefully as quickly as we can mark them after they finish their exams, which will be the second week we get back. So I'm hoping that we'll get the results out by the end of the week of the 27th, if we're lucky. We just need staff to mark them. We need to collate it through. So we'll be getting the results out as soon as possible, and you should be getting that. So that'll be good to your student, but make sure you ask about that. Yes, there will be after school interventions, and this will feed into it. We want to make sure the interventions are impactful. The government has also put some extra funding in to help people to catch up, but they haven't quite published how we can use that money or ideas on what to do. There is talk about being able to hire tutors to actually run some online sessions. And also, yes, I know that Mrs. Mantis, the head of maths, is watching, so I'll now get a critique tomorrow. But I do know that the subject departments, especially maths, and I'm sure the other ones have given out revision lists already. They have offered that additional online app to people to use to revise. So although this evening is to give you, the parents, information on what's been going on, the staff at the school haven't been sitting around doing nothing. They have been working on this since we announced it to the students. And we told the students that when they first came back, so we gave them a month to revise. Yeah, those who needed extra time, a question about extra time and adjustments, we will try to create as near to a real exams situation as we can. My partner is an ex-exams officer and nags me repeatedly about access arrangements. So we will try and make sure that these exams are catered for in the best way that we can. And for those that are due extra time or have special arrangements such as laptop or a scribe, we will be working on that. And that is something that Mr. Nelson and I will be talking together. Can we as parents access past test papers for us to help with revision at home? There's lots of resources out there. The heads of the department will issue past test papers to you. What I would say is that we will give the student the past papers they need to revise, because obviously we might be using some of those past papers to actually set our mock exams. We're hoping that the exams that people have set in the past we're going to use when the results come out, the mark schemes come out. So if you contact your class teachers, they will be issuing papers to the students on revision. And as I say, Mrs. Mantis has already, she's joined us, she's already said that we are using past papers and revision list now. I think I've answered the question somebody else has asked about switching the timings. By having the year 11s and 10s start later, that does mean that we can run revision sessions and carry on a bit later. The problem is we've actually taken their period 1 and put it at the end of the day. So the other schools having their period 1. If we were to swap it, at the end of the day, we wouldn't be able to offer any revision sessions for the year 11s because everyone else would be going home. I will follow up. Someone's just asked me, not all teachers giving out the revision guidance notes. I will follow that tomorrow. I'll ask Mr. Nelson to follow that. We can send an email tonight, Mr. Nelson, we don't mind. Just reminding staff that the exams are coming up. English, maths and science are coming up, and the rest of the other subjects, we will get the revision notes and guidance notes put out to students. Most of them should have revision guides. Most of them should know the content that they've been given, and it'll be on there. When can my son apply for college, and how will he know what expected grades he will get or what to do if the college asks him? That is down to the results of this set of mock results. We will be able to tell him the results that he got and what we think he will do, but we need some information on that. It also depends on your son. If your son's engaged all the way through, then his class teachers know what he should be getting. They know what he should be aiming for based on his past work and what he's been demonstrating. But if he hasn't, then it's a lot harder for us to make that judgment call. We also don't know how well the learning that was happening during lockdown has embedded into them. Also, other schools and other colleges are all in the same boat. We all know this. We're all working together. I think I've asked another question about the timings. If we do invest in tutors, it depends on the money, then yes, we will try and do the best we can to try and get the tutors to identify and support those students who need it particularly. We're also providing our own tuition. So the whole point of these exams is we can gather information so that we know what each student needs and try and provide as much as we can a bespoke program that meets their needs. I've never been a fan of people revising topics that they know already. There's no point. So one way you can help them at home is they should all have a revision book with topics in. And one thing they should be doing is going through with a green highlighter, highlighting those topics they know well. They need the least revision. And then maybe highlighting in a slightly lighter colour, maybe an orange, those areas where they sort of know it, but they could do with a bit of practice. And then highlighting in yellow or red, those areas they really don't get. And they should be the areas they start revising with first. Do children have to wear masks in the class as well if COVID-19 increases? We are constantly being guided by Public Health England and the TFE. At the moment, it is up to the student's choice to wear a mask in class. Students have to wear a mask in corridors, and I would ask you to stress to your son the distance. We're important to keep your distance from other people. It's important to make sure that you sanitize regularly. We have sanitizers throughout the school, so please make sure they do that, and also make sure they do wear a mask in the public corridors when it does get busier. But in a class at the moment, the exam guidance isn't that they have to wear a mask in their exams, so they won't have to wear them in class. But if things change and we get guidance telling us to do something different, you can rest assured we will act promptly and securely. If you want to see me in person, it is possible. It's much harder to have one-to-one meetings, but if you email me, I will try to arrange a time when we can meet in a socially distanced way. But it is a very difficult thing. We can even arrange to have maybe a personal Zoom message. If we do have another lockdown, those sort of question here, if we do have another lockdown, then lessons will actually via Teams. Teams is our Microsoft platform where we share all our resources, and every class is a member of has its own team. So we do our lessons via Teams. So it's Microsoft Teams, and the students already have access to all Microsoft packages, the whole of Microsoft Office. They can have access to their emails, and they can do that through OpenOffice, which they can get hold of because they have Office 365, and their school login and their school password for logging into school and getting onto the school computers is what they use to get onto Office 365, and that will give them access to Teams. Okay, so I'm hoping I've answered all the questions. I'll just wait for one moment. The repeated question does seem to be about the time of the school day, but hopefully you realise now why we do have the year 11s on at a slightly later time, because we would just have to ask them to leave the school site. The lower school are being asked to leave so we can focus on the year 11s and the year 10s. So that's why we do it. Two more questions come down. My son has said there is no social distancing at school. This is worrying, and this is echoed in every single school that I have friends working in. The students are not doing it as well as we ask them to. We try to, but then again, they are the ones that don't have that fear factor. In their defence, they are the ones who are unlikely to catch it severely. It's more old people like me that are more likely to get it. So it's important that we are trying to keep the teachers socially distanced so they can carry on their job. We have got so many arrows on the floor, signs on the wall, encouraging them to social distance. The older ones seem to be worse. So if you could encourage them to follow the rules, that would support us a great deal. We aren't giving up. We have got them in place, and we will try very, very hard to keep that going. We will try very, very hard to do this for you. We are trying our best to make sure they follow all the rules and keep in their bubbles. That's why we have the school day as it is. So we are trying very, very hard to maintain all the rules. Careers talks. Careers are slightly different this year, obviously, because of the social distancing, but Miss Cashmore, who is our careers lead, has had a number of interviews with some students already. She does it in a socially distanced way. If they are really, really anxious to have a careers talk, we can prioritise them and send them to the top of the pile. I will publish Miss Cashmore's email so that we can put that out for you. If you contact myself or Mr. Nelson, we can arrange for that, so we can do that for you. What I would say is that my email was at the front of this presentation, but I will give it to you again. It is scabreera@sjc.ac, and Mr. Nelson's is dnelson, DNELSON @sjc.ac. So please, email us if you want further information or more, pertinent questions that are directly to you. Could there be a revision class before school? Possibly. The weird thing is that the teachers who teach period 6 don't necessarily teach period 1 because their days change. They start slightly later as well. That doesn't mean they wouldn't give up their time to do it, but it's also making sure we have a room for them to do it, because obviously we've changed the school day. It's really difficult, but we might well look at if we can do something. It might be something we can do in the school hall, but that is something that we will definitely take into account. There might be an opportunity to do some work before school. Someone's asked me about sanctions about those who do not wear a mask. It is very hard to sanction those who don't wear a mask. We have changed the rules today to make it enforceable in the corridors, and we will be contacting home to try and engage parents to help us with students who don't turn up with masks who haven't got one. I would say the majority of students are now wearing masks. We have got masks we're providing for those that forget it, so we're hoping that this will improve and get better. The boys should already know, be told about the sixth form application system, but that is what they will find out on the 13th from Dr. Woodburn, who will be telling you how to apply for the sixth form and how we do it. So that information will be on the 13th, and that will be made available to all the students, and that will have all the information on the different courses we offer, the different structure, where the option blocks are, what combinations can and can't be done in the sixth form, and also how to apply. So that information is there. Again, if you haven't heard anything before next week, then please get in touch with me and I can arrange that and I can sort that out for you. Okay. I'm just going through the last of them. So yeah, that's it. I think that's the last question. So thank you all very much for listening. It's nice to see so many of you here this evening. I hope this has been a success. We will hopefully be able to publish this in case you've missed anything or want to pass it on to other people. And we wish you a very happy evening, a good evening, and stay safe out there, please. And thank you very much for joining us. Good night.